Good morning students, this is KV Ramana, I am lecturer of Zoology. Today we are going to talk about one of the very important structures which are present in the lungs, where the exchange of gases takes place. The primary site where the exchange of gases takes place, that we are going to explain, that is about the histology of the alveoli. Generally, alveoli is a structural and functional unit of lungs or human respiratory system. These alveoli is present in the alveolar sacs. Alveolar sac is formed from the alveolar duct. Alveolar duct is formed from the respiratory bronchiole. Respiratory bronchiole formed from the terminal bronchiole. Like that, these terminal bronchiole all are present in the lobules of the lungs. Right? Let me explain about this. What is the lobule and all? Right? Generally, lungs are made up of lobes. We learnt already what are the lobes are present in the right lung and left lung. Right lung has upper lobe, middle lobe and lower lobe, and left lung has upper and lower lobe. Here three lobes are separated by, one is horizontal fissure, one is oblique fissure. Here only one oblique fissure separates the upper lobe of the left lung and lower lobe of the left lung, right? Next, each lobe is divided into segments. Each lobe is divided into segment, right? In the lobes of the lungs contain bronchi. What are the bronchi we learnt? Right? What are the structures of bronchi we learnt in the respiratory system? These all bronchi is present in the lobes. Now segments contain bronchioles. That means lungs made up of lobes. Lobes are made into, that means lobes form the segments. These segments contain the bronchioles. Now that is the bronchioles. We know different type of bronchioles are there: primary bronchiole, secondary bronchiole, tertiary bronchiole and terminal bronchiole. Now segments are from the lobules. Now lobules contain respiratory or exchange part of the respiratory system. What are the respiratory or exchange part of the respiratory system? That may be respiratory bronchiole, right? Next, alveolar duct and alveolar sac and alveoli. So lungs contain the lobes contain the segments, right? These segments form the lobules. Okay, now we learned already. Okay, now where the lobes are present, there bronchi is present. Where the segments are present, there bronchioles are present. Where the lobules are present, there respiratory bronchiole and alveolar duct and alveolar sac and alveoli is present. I think you have understood about the lobes, segments and lobules, right? Let me explain about the alveoli, right? So where the alveoli is present, alveoli is present end of the alveolar duct contain a sac-like structure. Each sac of alveoli contain two or more than two alveoli. Now I am talking about what is the alveoli. Alveoli is a structural and functional unit of respiratory system where the exchange of gases takes place. And very important thing is both lungs contain approximately 3 millions of alveoli. Both lungs made up of 3 millions of alveoli. Just now I said alveoli is structural and functional unit of the respiratory system. Let me explain about one of the unit in the respiratory system, that is we can call as alveoli, that is a histology of alveoli. Generally, each alveoli is made up of 3 types of cells. Each alveoli is made up of 3 types of cells. These 3 cells we can call as a alveolar cells. That is first one is type 1 alveolar cells. Second one is type 2 alveolar cells. Third one is alveolar macrophages. There are 3 cells which form the alveoli, right? That is the first one is first type of alveolar cells. Second one is second type of alveolar cells. Third one is macrophages. You know already about the macrophages. Macrophages are these are modified monocytes which helps in phagocytosis. That means they will be protect the lungs from the microbes. Let's say it is a alveolar macrophages, right? Let me explain the first one. What is the first one? Alveolar cells also known as pneumocytes. What is that? Pneumocytes. Now let me explain about the what is the use of the first type of alveolar cells. First type of alveolar cells are very important for exchange of gases, right? What are the first type of alveolar cells are present? These are numerous. Okay, now these are numerous. It is made up of simple squamous epithelial cells. These are involved in the exchange of gases. So the first type of alveolar cells are first type of pneumocytes. These are involved in the exchange of gases. It is a very clear about you, right? These are mostly involved in the exchange of gases. Next one is second type of alveolar cells. Let me explain about the second type of alveolar cells are second type of pneumocyte. This second type of pneumocyte, which is a large in cells, cuboidal cells, and the apical surface of these second type of cells are get modified into microvilli. These microvilli helps to secrete the alveolar fluid. This alveolar fluid is called lecithin. What is that? Lecithin. Lecithin is a alveolar fluid. This lecithin is a chemically phospholipids. What is that? Phospholipid. Okay, now what is the use of this lecithin? Lecithin act as a, what I drawn with the red color sketch, that is a lecithin. This lecithin act as a surfactant. Surfactant provides elastic property of the pulmonary tissue. What is the use of the surfactant? Elastic nature. That means alveoli always should be open condition only. It should not be collapsed. That will be prevented by the lecithin. Lecithin act as a surfactant. Lecithin act as a surfactant. It is a type of phospholipid which is secreted from the type 2 alveolar cells, that is the type 2 pneumocytes. Type 2 pneumocytes, right? So alveolar cells also known as a pneumocyte, that is the first type of alveolar cells, first type of pneumocytes. Second type of alveolar cells, that is the second type of pneumocyte. First type of alveolar cells are majorly helps in exchange of gases. Second type of alveolar cells are helps in, what is that? Production of lecithin. Lecithin is a type of phospholipid which helps in act as a surfactant, which does, what do you mean it is? Surfactant is nothing but it does not allow to collapse the alveolar. It should be always should be open. Important character of the mammalian lungs, right? Let me explain about the what are the layers present in the each alveoli. Each alveoli is made up of two layers, right? Outer layer of the alveoli is made up of yellow fibrous connective tissue. This yellow fibrous connective tissue which gives the flexibility of the cell, and inner layer of the alveoli is made up of simple squamous epithelial cells. Simple squamous epithelial cells. I hope you understand. Now, what is the use of this alveoli? So, in our both lungs, there are 3 millions of alveoli is present. These 3 millions of alveoli is surrounded by a bunch of capillaries are called pulmonary capillaries. What is that? Pulmonary capillaries. These pulmonary capillaries brought the blood from the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery bring the blood from the right ventricle, which contain the deoxygenated blood. So this pulmonary artery form the pulmonary capillaries. These pulmonary capillaries are formed from the embryonic endoderm. Very important. These are embryonic endodermal cells. These pulmonary capillaries surround each alveoli where the exchange of gases takes place. That means deoxygenated blood become a oxygenated blood. That means what is the oxygen is inhaled and reaches. What is the oxygen is reaches to the alveoli. It reaches to alveoli where exchange of oxygen diffused from the alveoli to blood, and carbon dioxide diffused from the blood to alveoli. After exchanging, the deoxygenated blood become a oxygenated blood. This oxygenated blood is reaches to heart through the pulmonary vein, right? I hope you understand about the structure and histology of the alveoli. So alveoli is a structural and functional unit of the respiratory system. Why it is a structural and functional unit of the respiratory system? Because where the exchange of gases takes place, it is a primary site for where the exchange of gases takes place. And let me explain one of the important point. I want to explain it. That is a pores of Kohn. Pores of Kohn is nothing but there is a small pores are present between the each epithelial cell, that is a simple squamous epithelial cells. Through it what happens? No, gases will be exchanged. These pores are first identified by the Kohn. That's what it is called pores of Kohn. It's a characteristic of mammalian lungs. I hope you understand about the complete respiratory system regarding the human being. Okay, now let me explain about the process of or steps involved in the breathing. Okay, now that is about the inspiration, expiration and exchange of gases at lungs level. Thank you. Right.